Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. Twisdale here to teach you lesson 3.3. We're going to be working with rational numbers and the number line. So today our objective is I can plot rational numbers on a number line. So there's going to be a lot of numbers and a lot of number lines. Okay, so a rational number, in lesson 3.1 we learned an integer is a positive or negative whole number. Well, a rational number is any number, whether positive or negative, which includes integers, fractions, and decimals. So these are just some examples. 0.2, 5.4, or 5, 4.7, 1 3/4, which you'll notice there's whole numbers, decimals, mixed numbers, just fractions, and also it includes negative fractions, negative whole numbers, negative decimals, negative mixed numbers. So these are rational numbers. So let me show you a little double bubble here. So integers are always a rational number, but rational numbers are only sometimes integers, and that's only if they're whole numbers. So an integer, which is a whole number, positive or negative, is always considered a rational number, but if it has a decimal or a fraction, then it's not an integer. Integers are just whole numbers, okay? So there's a little graphic to help you remember that. Okay, sorry about the little kid toy going off there. If you want to, you can copy these notes into your notebook, or you can use your math book. I pulled it straight from the math book because it's easier than for me drawing a whole bunch of number lines and having like this data here. So that's why I'm using the Go Math book. It's not my favorite, but that's what we're doing for today. So let's get started in our example. Now, the freezing point of a liquid is the temperature at which the liquid turns into a solid when it is cooled. The table, I'll show you the table. The table shows the approximate freezing point of various or different liquids. Graph each temperature on a number line. So, we have three different liquids. We have negative 0.3, negative 0.5, and 1.4. So our first step when we're going to graph on a number line is we need to locate each number in relation to its nearest integers. So what that means is decimals or fractions always have two whole numbers or integers on either side of it. So I'm going to think of it like this. So we're going to think negative 0.3 is the opposite of positive 0.3, right? And 0.3 is between the integers 0 and 1. That's where it falls on the number line. So, negative 0.3 is between the opposite of these integers. So negative 0.3 is between 0 and negative 1. Okay? Negative 0.5 is between 0 and negative 1. And 1.4 is between positive 1 and positive 2. Now I'm just going to go ahead and graph each of these. I have three separate graphs. So negative 0.3, I'm going to go between 0 and 1. It's going to be about here. Felicity. Felicity. Shh. Negative 0.5 is also going to be between 0 and negative 1. In the middle there. And then 1.4 is going to be between positive 1 and 2. It'll be right there. And that is how you plot a rational number on a number line. Let's continue. Okay, so the next problem, it should be on the back of that page if you're using the Go Math book. We have a map. So City Hall is located at point 0 on a map of Maple Avenue. Other points of interest on Maple Avenue are located on the map based on their distance in miles to the east of City Hall, which would be positive numbers, or west to the City Hall, which is negative numbers. So we're going to graph each location onto a number line. Is that so funny? Okay, focus. So remember, the first step we want to think, what two integers is this between? So negative 3/8. Negative 3/8 is between 0 and negative 1. Oops, that's supposed to be a 0. 0 and negative 1. 1 and 1/4 is between 1, positive 1, and 2. Negative 1.5 is between negative 1 and negative 2. And then 3/4 is between 0 and positive 1. And over here, remember, it tells you can think of the opposite, if that helps you. Okay, now I'm going to graph each location on the number line. So, City Park is negative 3/8. It's going to be between 0 and negative 1. 3/8 is about half. 4/8 would be exactly half. So, it's going to be about here. Draw those dots there. Okay. Negative 1.5 is going to be past negative 1 before negative 2, which would be right there. That looks like a little arrow. 1 and 1/4, I'm going to go past positive 1 and quarter of the way, about here. And then 3/4 would be not quite a 1 whole, past 3/4, about there. And that is how you would graph those. So remember, today the most important part is putting those dots in the right place. Okay, I want you to take a moment to think about these two questions. The first one is, how did you identify the two integers that negative 1.5 is between? I want you to think about that, and I want you to answer it on the computer. And the next one, before I give you a pause time, is, how do you know from looking at the table that City Hall is between City Park and the mall? Go ahead and answer that question as well. All right, so now you have some, I'll give you 2 examples and to try it. And these are just level 2, just to make sure you really understand how to put these on the number line. So you're going to have to draw your own number line, and then you can do all of the same problems on this number line. So I'm just going to number them as I do it. Let me make my pen mark a little bigger here. Okay, so number 4 is 0.6. So it's going to be a positive number, but not quite 1, so it's going to be right about here. Okay, and I'll label that 4. Oh, that was a big 4. There we go. And then number 8 is negative 0.7, and that's going to be right almost negative 1, right about there. And that would be number 8. Oh, geez Louise, this is not working as well as I wanted it to. That's number 8. Okay, so go ahead and try graphing the other 6, and you won't be able to write it into the computer, so you're just going to have to graph it onto your notebook, and I'll check it there. Okay, so let's check your answers. Negative 1 and 25/100 would be right about here. That would be number 5. Number 6, negative 1.5 would be right here. That's number 6. Number 7 is 0.3. Here's 0. It would be, let's see, that would be 0.25, so it would be about here. Number 7. Let's switch colors. Number 9 would be 1, so I'm going to go over here to 1. 0.4, about there. That's number 9. Number 10 is negative 1/2. So right there, kind of by number 8. And number 11 is negative 1/4. Should be right here. That's number 11. Alright, so hopefully you did pretty well on that. It is kind of tricky because it's a little bit backwards than what you've been doing for most of your life. But you'll catch on. Okay, your last try it problem is a level 3 story problem. Jacob needs to graph negative 6 and 2/5 on a horizontal number line. Should he graph it to the left or to the right of negative 6? And I'm going to add on here, explain why. Alright, go ahead and try this on your own. Okay, so I would just draw a quick number line. Abigail. Shh. And if I had 0 here, and -1, -2, my number line's not big enough. -4, -5, and -6. When I graph -6 and 2/5, it would actually be right here. So it would be on the left. I need to think about it. The left. And so to explain this, I'm going to type my answer. I'm going to write Jacob would need to graph the number to the left because it is smaller than -6. And that would be my explanation. Alright, boys and girls, that's all for this video today. I hope you understand the concept. Please ask me questions if you don't. And best of luck. Have a great day of learning.